Hi, here's my spotlight, and I've got Lindsay who's going to interrogate me for the next 3 or 4 minutes or whatever. So, hope you enjoy it.
Okay, here we go. So these questions have been submitted by various members of the directorate. So, first question. If you were stuck in a lift, which three famous people would you like to be with and why?
So, I think I'd pick John Wayne, because he's a bit of an action hero. And I can remember when I was a lad watching him on the TV, always seemed to win in the end. It was a bit of slap and stuff, but it was great fun. Then I'd want a character who was smart and sophisticated, just like a lot of the women in the European programmes team. So I'd pick Julia Roberts. And finally, I come from the Midlands initially, but I think I like a bit of northern humour. So to add to the mix, I'd have Peter Kay in there, and I'm sure that'd be a bit of fun.
Sure it would. So, what is your fondest childhood holiday memory and why?
So when I was about 16, I probably went abroad for the first time on holiday, and I went with the Venture Scouts to the Netherlands and stayed all over the country. Went to places like Arnhem, Amsterdam, stayed with Dutch families, learned a lot about the culture, and I always remember it because it's different than a beach holiday, and it was much more fun to find out about really what happened with things like the war and what the Dutch think about the British. It's great.
Okay, what work achievements are you most proud of and why?
Back in 2001 and 2005, I sort of led on managing the rover crisis for the Chamber of Commerce in Birmingham, and that involved looking after all of the suppliers and saving quite a lot of companies and thousands of jobs, and being very quick and responsive and agile to deal with that. It was a big challenge. Really got a buzz from that, and so did the team that worked on it. But actually feeling part of almost a civil servant at the time, even though I was part of the Chamber of Commerce, who was involved in quite a lot of the intimate work of government. So that was really a real good challenge, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Who was your favourite band or musician?
Looking back to when I first bought vinyl records, as opposed to those downloads you get today, I can remember a few albums from the initial Elton John collection, and I've always liked Elton John, probably before he became really famous, when he did songs like Daniel and Rocket Man, and I've been to see him a few times, and I think his music's brilliant.
Okay, I think I know the answer to this anyway, but are you a football or a rugby man, and who do you support?
Pretty much a football person, although to be honest I watch a lot of different sports and I enjoy sort of picking them apart and understanding how they work and the tactics and the skills involved. But Liverpool's my team. Great to see them win the European Cup in 2005 with Mark Foley standing next to me in a pub in Brussels. I won't ever forget it when they were 3-0 down and I walked in that evening. But yeah, a passion because I think they're a great team. They haven't necessarily got all the stars in the world, but they're a great team.
Okay. What would you invent and why?
This is a difficult one, and probably I can guess who sent the question in. Probably I'd want to invent something which was pretty practical, which would help a lot of people, and I think I'd say hangover-free alcohol. Why? I've had a few hangovers in my time, and no doubt you have as well, and I don't really enjoy it too much. So being able to have a drink and then wake up the following morning and just get up normally would be brilliant.
I think we'd all pay you.
Yeah, I think I'd make a lot of money out of it as well.
What's your favourite animal and why?
I haven't got a dog, but I do like dogs, and particularly I like border collies. I think they're really interesting to watch, especially when they're running around and doing all the sheepdog trials. Very intelligent I just think it's fascinating how clever they are. So I like sort of watching sort of clever kind of animals, and they're certainly one of them.
Okay. If you could do something you currently can't, what would you do?
This is another difficult one, but it wasn't too hard to answer really. I can remember when I took the lad to Disney World in Florida, and the one ride he wanted to carry on going on time after time after time is the Peter Pan ride, and that sort of sparked me with thinking really that if I could do one thing I couldn't do would be fly. I think it would be just amazing, so you just see the world from a different perspective.
Okay. If you could change a moment in history, what would you change?
Definitely got this one. A moment in history, I think, again, I'd get paid a lot for this one. I would stop the invention of emails. Why? I think, how many do we waste our time over? How many do we get stressed over? So, can't we communicate better in different ways? Or think about whether we should communicate all the time? That's how I'd stop emails.
And what is your signature dish to cook if you were going to cook for Mrs. Malpass? What would you cook for her?
Having been a student, it's a bit of sort of live or die as far as cooking is concerned, especially when you lived in a house with 5 lads and 3 of them couldn't cook and 2 of them could. Fortunately, I was probably one of the ones who could cook, so I knew what I was going to eat. But I tended to cook Sunday dinner. And I can do pretty good Sunday dinner. I'll probably roast beef's my favourite.
Okay. And finally, if you were stranded on a desert island, what 3 songs would you take with you, and what luxury item?
Bit of a mixture really in terms of music. I think I'd take It's a Wonderful World from Louis Armstrong. Like just relaxing kind of song, but it's nostalgic. In terms of one of the best singles, I think I enjoy is Field of Dreams by Sting, which is a great piece of music. And coming down to the classical stuff, then I'd probably take The Planet Suite by Gustav Holst, because I like all the noise and the music from the orchestra. It's great. What would I take as my luxury item? Well, it's pretty obvious really. I'd take a sun lounger. I want to sleep sometime anyway, even if I was stuck on a desert island for however long. But yeah, I'd take a sun lounger.
Great. Thanks very much, David.
Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.